Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on issue 2 of Transformers Shattered Glass 2. Now, as you know, Shattered Glass 2 is going to be telling other stories of the evil version of the Autobots from the Shattered Glass universe. And the cover mainly has the Shattered Glass version of Blaster and Soundwave duking it out with their cassette tapes fighting it on. And the story mainly picks up after the last issue, and we see how the Shattered Glass version of Blaster says, "Count me in, boss." "Got you, boss. 3, 2, 1, go." Thank you, and a good night go. My spotlight. That's what I'm talking about. Good night, Gold City. And of course, we kind of see how Rodimus and Slicer are asking for a special job to create sort of Soundwave's radio station, and we can kind of see how Rodimus does get annoyed with Blaster, calling him brother and that. So we see how Slicer gets him to kind of deal with Soundwave's radio station, but it also turns out the other Autobots have no respect for Blaster. And we kind of see how he manages to do it stealthily, and we see how Megatron says, "Flame Wall? Forget her. Right now she's not going anywhere, and I'm not finished." And of course, we see how Blaster tries to listen on to Megatron's conversation, but decides to kind of cause a little bit of mischief. And we kind of see how he kind of causes them to get annoyed with each other, and their behavior chips being altered, and we kind of see how he gets words that they are going to cause a distraction. So we kind of see how Blaster gets in, tries to hack into the system, but of course finds out that it's not working the way he wants it without the password. And we see Blaster being met by Soundwave saying, "Blaster, how do you get in here?" "I'll get right back to you after transmission." "What do you, Blaster?" And of course, we see how they both duke it out, and we kind of see how Soundwave says, "I don't want to fight you, Blaster." "Stop lying, Soundwave. I'm not going to just hang over the spotlight that easily." "You're a soldier like the rest of them. Act like it. Do you think Decepticons fight this war because we enjoy it?" And he points out that, yeah, the robots are causing more mayhem than good. And we kind of see how he realizes that now that his cover's been blown and had to get what info he had to make a quick break for it. And we kind of see how the next time he gets in, they find out that the Decepticons have blocked his passage. So he basically uses his radio transmission powers and causes a quick getaway. And as soon as he meets with Rodimus and Slicer, he even points out where is his other sort of teammates. And we see how Rodimus says, "You want to see your fellow failures, brother?" And turns out they kill them, and pretty much they point out Blaster's flaws and how it cost them a lot more time and resources. So of course, we see how Blaster tries to make his break for it, but they mainly hold him down. And it turns out Blaster was originally a news anchor, but turns out that he was getting fed up and annoyed with the news and that. And we see how one of the news team says, Blaster, you're still alive." And turns out he lost his job because of his rude behavior, and Soundwave became his replacement. So he tried to go too big and became a musician, and turns out Soundwave was there. And we see how Blaster says, "What do you want? Heard you were playing again. I thought I'd listen. Hey, if you ever want to maybe pull some strings, maybe I can get an interview on the station." But it turns out that Blaster isn't pleased and doesn't want any handouts. And we see how he tried to kind of form his own radio station, and he even joined the Autobots. And we see how Slicer says, Wasn't he a musician? Who cares? He's cannon fodder for the front lands now. And yeah, they basically kill him off. And we see how Rodimus and Slicer decide to make it look like an accident. And of course, they manage to kind of get what info they could. And this is the story. So I think issue 2 of Shattered Glass 2 is sort of okay. Like I said, I think the difference between Blaster and Soundwave in this reality was that Blaster tried to go the distance, and it was just kind of clear that he wasn't cut out to be a musician or anything, while Soundwave was who he was, and basically wasn't trying to be something he's not. So I think the story still deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.